Hey everyone. I am in the middle of prepping for an upcoming convention, and part of that prep is building out pre-generated characters to use at the table. And so I thought it'd be fun to kind of showcase how I do that, build a few on the spot, as well as just share my rules of thumb for these pre-generated characters. So as I build out one or two of these, keep in mind the following three things. The first is that these pre-generated characters need to be brief and easy to understand. I mean, these are potentially new players who are sitting down and they just want to get playing and rolling dice. And so pre-generated characters are meant to be an aid to get play happening faster, not a barrier that they kind of have to overcome. Brevity and just necessary details is what I'm aiming for. The second thing is that you really can pull from anywhere. I mean, yes, you can definitely roll up starting characters from the get-go just as is, but really you're missing an opportunity to play in this sandbox. You have absolute control with these pre-generated characters, and you can pull from any section of Index Card RPG, any setting, any book. You could pull it from Altered State, you could pull it from Root, you could just do whatever. And whatever you're comfortable with, be willing to put those in the pre-gen characters. The last thing is that you don't have to necessarily follow the rules of player, creation. The Heroes of the Hammer supplement by Runehammer is a great example of this. These pre-gen characters are extremely awesome, but they also break some of the standard rules, especially for starting characters. I mean, Aaron of Splinter here is an anomaly. What bioform is that? I don't know. They've got essentially 25 points of base stats that they've dropped in to int whiz, are there +8. You got magic at +9, ultimate is at +9 as well. You've got items here that aren't in the book, but really does it matter? No, because they're pre-gen characters. So don't worry about necessarily following the rules exactly. And plus, your new characters or new players that are at your table, they're not going to necessarily understand all the rules either. So this is your opportunity to just showcase what you want and to showcase the system and help just have a good time. So those are my rules of thumbs, but let's dive into actually creating it. I've got my template here in Affinity Publisher. What I've done is I've just set this up to kind of like walk me through what I have to do. And so we're going to start with the character details, the loot, the abilities, and then we'll worry about stats at the end. We're not going to really worry about too much. It's just going with it and letting go. So the first thing I'm just going to do is change the name. I'm going to say, we're going to name him Snick. I think he's going to be a goblin. And you know what? Type? I think he is going to be a sneak. I don't know what that means. Probably something around a rogue or a shadow, but I'm just going to say he's a sneak, because in Goblin, that's what they call him. So we'll say Snick lives in the alleys and rooftops of Gray, testing windows for the next score. Boom. So he's a sneak thief. He's a window thief, prowls around in the alleys and the rooftops, testing windows. There, he's living in Alfheim. Alright, so then I'm going to drop down to loot. What I'm trying to think of is essentially a kind of a bigger piece of equipment and then some loot, but about keeping it to about 4 to 5 items. Playing at a convention, I don't want to hand them 20 items that they have to pick from. Like, giving them 4 or 5 things that really choose from really helps players just have less analysis paralysis as they're looking at their character sheet. One thing that I think of definitely, armor is I'm going to say he's got barrel armor, right? He's going to go +1 defense, and he can roll near whenever hit. So he's run around in this little barrel, his little cask, and it gives him +1 defense, but every time he gets hit, he gets so small that he gets to kind of pull his arms and legs in, and he gets to roll to a near location whenever he gets hit. So let's go with, he's got a little, definitely give him little lock picks. Actually, no, he's got his little finger, so I probably don't need to worry about that. We can maybe make that his ability. But let's think of maybe some smoke powder. We'll give him 4 uses of it, so I'll just try to put that in a little there, and then essentially fill a near area with smoke for 1d4 rounds. Again, I'm trying to be brief, so I cut out some text. It may not make sense, but this is meant to kind of give a prompt to characters, and I will be working with new players if they have questions, but give them little prompts to what that can do. So smoke powder, 4 uses, fill a near area with smoke for 1d4 rounds. We're going to give him a little, we're going to give him a butter knife. And this will say, you know, let's go +1 basic. Yeah, we're just going to leave it at +1 basic. And then his big item, what would be a good big item for Snick the Sneak? Okay, this is a good example. So I'm kind of stuck on maybe a good item. So what I'll do is I'll just kind of pop over to Master Edition or just anything, and I'll start just looking around. So Shadow is a good one. You know, Spider Claws, his pocket cloak, disappear. You know what? I'm gonna jump down maybe to some of the milestones. Actually, you know what? I think I'm gonna pull from a monster. Where's a monster that's kind of sneaky? Oh no, we already passed those. Okay, so we're not gonna worry about those. Then we'll just kind of go down to the loot table. Scroll all the way down to the bottom. So you can see that I'm just trying to pull from something. It doesn't really matter. Something. Blade of Greed. Maybe he's already got a butter knife. I'm gonna go maybe to the Bizarre loot table. That sounds fun. We're just thinking about here's one. So limb seed. So apply to a severed limb or stump to grow a new limb. You know what would be really kind of fun for a sneak thief? If he's dangling around buildings, maybe he has something like a healing item. So we're gonna say a feel better bean, and this can be, you know, he's got 1 use, and I'm just gonna say heal target to full. I don't care. He's got 1 feel better bean left, heals target to full. It could be him, it could be an ally, but when you use that, there. So that's his loot. And then for abilities, like we were talking about, we were thinking about maybe having some kind of lockpicking. So we'll just do nimble fingers, climbing and lock picking. Use ultimate effort. And the last one that we're going to do is camouflage. You know, remain stationary and can only be seen on a nat 20 if target is unaware of presence. So, like if you're sneaking in, just like, you know, say like Link in Wind Waker, you know, you have the barrel on top of you and you walk around and all of a sudden you drop it. It's like if you stay camouflaged, then you remain stationary, you can only be seen on the if the target is unaware. Like you can't just like, I'm just gonna pop into my barrel in the middle of a battle and hide. It's like, no, they need to be unaware of presence. So that's Snick the Sneak Goblin, and so now we can think about his bonuses. I know he's going to get some bonuses for Dex, and let's say he's going to get something in Con. We'll do a little bit of Wisdom, probably not too much Intelligence there, and then we're going to give him some basic, and we'll need to give him some gun because he's a Goblin, and maybe some tools and weapons. So as a goblin, he gets +1 to his dex and +1 to his life form. So I'll just kind of go in to the other ones, turn off life form. Okay, so these are kind of the stats that I need to fill in, and we'll also need to turn on the defense. So for him, he's got +2, +1, +1. So let's maybe change that to be, and I could use the 6 and 4, but you know what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to put him at, I'm going to leave it at +3, and then I'm gonna give him just +1. I'm gonna give him +1, so we're gonna change that to +1 there. He's gonna get a +3 to his basic. He's gonna get his loot for his basic as well. Let's turn that back on. Okay, so that's gonna give him a +4 for basic. He's gonna get +2 for weapons, and then I'm gonna leave his gun as +1 just from his base. So I'm gonna turn off. Turn off that. +4, +2, and then he's got +1 defense, and that should give him a +1 and a +11. So there's Snick. He's got a little bit of dex. He's got some big bonuses in basic. He's got weapon. Doesn't have too much armor, but that comes from his barrel armor. But he's got his nimble fingers, and he's got his camouflage. So let's create another one. We'll just try to be real quick with this one. This time, maybe let's do something in the sci-fi. So let's think of a sci-fi name like Xfin. He is a Sharkin, and his type is definitely a bruiser. He's a mercenary and is always looking for revenge for his brother. He is in Warp Shell. We can definitely say something along the lines of he's got to have a gun. So we're just gonna go standard, and we're just gonna come back to the sci-fi loot. Let's go with a Gauss rifle, whatever that means. So Gauss rifle, what we can say is damage structures. We'll say that you can, damages structures. Let's say his other loot. Let's do just some ion grenades, and this is just ultimate near. And then we can say that there's a 1d4 timer can be set. He's got, let's go with scale armor. That's going to give him +3, but we're going to make it a little more sci-fi. So ion scale armor, +3 defense, ignore first range attack per round. And then his big item is going to be something along the lines of, let's come up here maybe to the milestones. Actually, yeah, let's go to the milestones, or to Vigilante City, why not? So we'll come up here to the equipment list for Vigilante City, see what they have. Utility belt, team suit. Let's do that. Let's just do a utility belt, and I'm gonna just that 3 medkits, 3 smoke grenades, rope. Abilities. Let's say something along the lines of. So I'm just looking at Vigilante City right now, and okay, we're gonna take this one. So we're gonna do hard strength roll. We're gonna say crush, and then we're just gonna say something along those lines of hard strength roll to deal critical hit. And then, because he's a bruiser, his other ability, let's say, is, let's give him some regeneration. So shrug off the entire it's conflicted new pre-zone with a car roll. We're gonna do shrug it off, and then once per encounter, roll con to ignore all damage dealt within a round. For Sharkin, we're gonna say he's got +1 charisma and +1 con. +4 to his strength, he's gonna get +3 to his con, and +1 to his charisma, and then that's gonna put him at, we're gonna say, +1 weapons and tools, +1, and +2 ultimate. And then he doesn't have any, he's got there, so he's got his loot, and then he's got his base defense, so we'll turn that on. So now he's got con +3 +4. He's got a defense of 17. He's got a strength of 4. He's got a con of 4. Charisma +1. Weapons +1. Guns +1. And then he's got ultimate +2. And there's Xfin. He's our Sharkin mercenary. And that's essentially it. So you can see how, even though as I ramble through all those things, like, it's just a very free-form process. It's not necessarily written stone or very rigid on what you're doing, because you're really just providing a starting place for players, and then they're going to take this and make it their own. So you can use this, and they're going to take it, they're going to give Sharkin a personality, they're going to decide how they use his equipment, they're going to find more loot, but this is going to give them a kind of a starting point and a way that maybe they can encourage and build off of maybe something that you have. So that's pre-gen characters. I've got the 2. I'm going to make a 3rd one, and this template and that 3rd characters are going to be available over on my blog, so you can go check that out. But I would love to hear about your pre-generated characters, how you like to make them, what you come up with if you follow this method, and just let me know in the comments. Thanks, everybody.